You are welcome to the Morning Express. My name is Omobola Sandra. I won't be doing this alone. Fouad Sahid will be joining in via the phone line to give analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. But before then, today is Monday, the 5th of February 2024, and it is our tradition here that every Monday we bring you up to speed as regards the major stories that trended over the weekend. So here are the trending stories from Saturday and Sunday. I'll start with Saturday. Northern leaders at war over Tinubu. There are, stories that come around that particular headline. We have here, his policies are impoverishing the North while enriching others, and that's coming from NEF, that's Northern Elders Forum. And we also have here, still on adjoining to that particular headline, relocating FAN and CBN to Lagos will cost him our votes in 2027. Also, his handling of ECOWAS fueling insecurity in northern states, and that's coming from CNG, which is Coalition of Northern Groups. We should stop seeing government actions from regional angles. And that's coming from Northern CAN, that's Christian Association of Nigeria, and Arewa think tank. And all of this called from Saturday Sun. Still on Saturday, we also have here, stop terrorism or resign. Nigerians tell federal government in reaction to Shettima's claim on corruption frustrating fight against insecurity. The people are saying we are tired of your excuse. And that was taken from Saturday Vanguard. Moving on now to Sunday, we have quite a host of stories here. How rising insecurity spurs retooling of FCT's governance system. Well, that's an interesting story that you may want to take off the pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper. It was quite an interesting read as regards how insecurity, is making, or how the FCT minister rather is making some changes as regards governance due to insecurity in Abuja. Also, we have a story that trended on Sunday, rerun by-election in 26 states and 80 local government areas. It was quite an interesting Saturday, and there was a by-election held in Lagos at Surulere 1 constituency, and Okoyemi Akionde, our head political desk, was on ground to fully cover the event. Well, reports coming in from the by-election is there was voter apathy. There was also violence. Voting was suspended in Kano, Enugu, and Akwa Ibom as regards violence, abduction of officials, ballot box snatching. When is this going to end? Even with the short elections, the voter apathy was the major issue for a lot of reporters in the field, especially from Okoyemi. People were there. People were literally at the polling units with their voters' cards, but they just refused to vote. All right, well, that was also taken from the Guardian newspaper. Tinubu plans executive order to address soaring medicine cost, minister reveals. We also have here, Forex crisis pushes Hajj fare to 4.9 million naira. I can't wait to get Fouad's thought on this. Fouad is going on Hajj anytime soon. Or if I know anyone who's going on Hajj anytime soon, 4.9 million naira. Wow. Well, now taking off Daily Trust, and finally off strengths in the papers for the weekend. Tax evasion. Federal government to track social media content creators and influencers and looking to get them pay. And FIRS is saying that they're going to go for enforcement. This is going to be an interesting one to watch out for. And also, you may want to watch out for it on the Big Talk. Let's see how this is going to run. Well, those were the major stories that trended over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Time check right now is 7:45 a.m. Now, let us look through the stories that are trending for this morning, the 5th of February 2024. We have our papers here with us, The Punch, The Guardian, and Vanguard newspaper. It's going to be an interesting read. All you have to do is stay with us whilst we connect with Fouad Sahid. Good morning, Fouad. Oh, just stay. Not to worry. Just stay online. I'll be with you shortly. Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Perfect.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm sure you heard, the stories that trended over the weekend. Is there any that you just like to drop your sense on, or should we move on to the stories for today?
Oh, well, I think it's just the good news of the release of the abducted school children in the That's just one story for me. That I think discuss and speak something to be happy about. Unfortunately, the driver of the bus lost his life.
Oh yeah.
There's a further update on that particular story.
On the Punch
you
newspaper.
don't just say, yeah, you don't just say whether it was a release or a rescue.
Well, the Punch has something to say as regards that.
So we'll wait to when we get the Punch report. But that's it. But for the election, congratulations to winners. Unfortunately, again, we've not learned any lessons from our past election. The same issues of vote buying, voter apathy, voter suppression, violence, ballot box snatching, and then bad behavior from our election officials. The same thing all happened again, and I'm just hoping that one day we'll get it right.
Thank you very much, Fuad. Moving on now, let's start with the Punch newspaper. Let's see what we have here as regards trending stories for this morning. Thank you for staying with us. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can join the conversation on our live streaming platforms as well at Mainland 98.3 FM. You can drop comments in the live chat section as the program progresses. Now, the major headline on the front page of the Punch newspaper: kidnapping epidemic. Fundraising for ransom persists. Ekiti pupils' families pay 15 million naira. And that's the update we have as regards that. And there are riders to it. Victims, relatives, friends, neighbors raised ransom. School driver killed. And that's coming from the proprietor of the school, the Apostolic Nursery and Primary School, Emure in Ekiti. We also have another rider here. Kidnappers slaying Kwara monarch widows. Ransom to 40 million naira, and suspect has been arrested. That's as regards one that happened in Kwara State. The monarch himself was killed, but his wife was abducted. Well, the story is on pages 2, 25 and 28 of the Punch. So for yesterday, I remember on Political Roundtable, the conversation around rescue or released. Okay, yes. Whether I was rescued, whether I was released, I guess we have a report that's going to put some sort of clearance on that. So according to this report, despite warnings by the federal government against crowdfunding for ransoms, the practice has continued to gain ground as regards abductees and their families raising funds from family, friends, and even social media to secure the release of kidnapped victims. So what we have now is that families of abductees have disregarded the government's warning because they fear that the victims might be killed or harmed if they fail to pay the ransom. I remember yesterday, I think it was Barrister Curtis that mentioned the fact that some people do not even go to the police anymore. Once they hear that their family or their friend has been abducted, they just go around and start gathering money and just pay and get their family members back. People, the trust deficiency in our security agencies has is completely at an all-time low at this time, especially with this kidnap epidemic. And so what we have now is that the pupils and teachers of Apostolic Faith group of schools who were abducted last week regained their freedom, and it was said that the kidnappers freed the abductees after collecting 15 million naira and other items. It wasn't just money now, and other items which include fried rice, malt drinks, energy drinks, cigarettes. All of this put together to ensure the release of the abducted ones. What exactly is going on? I don't know if it was you or Barrister Curtis that mentioned yesterday the fact that people no longer even say go to the police and say, oh, please help me, their family member has been abducted or kidnapped or whatnot. People just, once they just get that call, that ransom call, people just go out, look for money, pay ransom, and do whatever they can to get their family members back. And now the fear is that we may be having underreporting as regards kidnapping due to the fact people are no longer coming forth to speak out for fear of their family members being killed.
Well, you know what, Sandra, the way the Punch has reported this story, it started by saying, despite one, that the government stopping ransom. Now, this is yesterday I also brought up a story. I think it was reported in the Standard newspaper of yesterday that the former director in the PSS.
Oh yes,
Mr. JᴏɪR, I said that look, he was also one of the people that condemned the ransom payment in the past until he himself was kidnapped. As the director in the PSS, he was one of the people that was saying, oh, don't pay ransom, just condemning, and that look, until the thing happened to him, he now knew that he was actually, saying the wrong thing. Because the sad thing about a kidnap situation, Sandra, is that it could well go wrong very, very fast. Look at this situation. The driver of the bus has been killed. That's how bad the kidnap situation can go. Because it could lead to loss of life and all of that. And for families who have their loved ones in the kidnappers' den, what do you expect them to do? And that's why I think that sometimes, look, even when a statement like that is to be issued, the timing is also very important, and the context. If you understand what I'm saying, as much as the police authorities, governments want to condemn the idea or discourage people from paying ransom, but again, they have to read the room. They have to learn to read the room. That's even one of the basic principles of public relations and public speaking. You read the room before you issue a statement, because again, you cannot gaslight the victim to say, oh, because you are paying ransom, that's why kidnapping is thriving or it's encouraging kidnapping. If you had done your job and there was no kidnap situation in the country, will anybody even think of paying? Are they so happy to pay the money?
Yeah.
Is it an actual big thing, or are they celebrating burial or marriage ceremony? Is it a crowdfunding to celebrate anything good? It's because these guys are helpless. You understand what I'm saying? So look at that of it now. In the first instance, they first had to raise about 450,000. That's a very poor community. You understand why it was extremely difficult for them to raise that kind of money. And eventually now the papers are saying that they eventually pay 15 million naira. How they were able to put the money together, I don't know. That of Kwara, the monarch in Kwara, the Olukowo of Oro Kingdom in Kwara State. There are reports that, look, the king was killed because he wasn't cooperating with them. They actually wanted to abduct him and his wife and other people for ransom. But the king, maybe because he was an ex-general, thought that, look, he needed to, resist some of these things. And then he was killed immediately. That's how bad the kidnap situation can go, very, very fast. So it's unfortunate where we found ourselves. Unfortunately, the narrative from our government officials is not encouraging on this kidnap situation we have in the country. The kind of rhetoric what we are getting from them is not reassuring, and it's also comforting to the ear, because it's more like they are deflecting on the real issues and catching the topic. But the thing is, we are hoping that the government will do the right thing, to keep Nigerians safe and secure. Because again, we've always said it, I'm going to repeat it again. The primary job of a government is the security of lives and properties of the people. If that fails, every other thing has failed.
Well,
so,
just as it's unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. I remember sometime in January, I think it was 2nd of January, earlier in January, when the Delta State PPRO Bright Dafe posted on his X handle that crowdfunding for ransom payment is criminal. It's dangerous and should not be encouraged. So let's stop making kidnapping a thriving and lucrative business in Nigeria. So I'm asking this question. Are Nigerians the one who are responsible for making kidnapping lucrative and thriving? By paying ransom?
That police PRO that issued that statement. Again, we don't like to make comparisons like this or infer things like this. But if he has any of his loved ones in the kidnapper's den, I'm sure he will be the first person to find a way to look for money to trade them. And that's why I say that, look, statements are conceptual, and sometimes you have to read the room before you make them. Because again, statements only make meaning or make sense in the context of what is happening at that time. How is that the conversation we should be talking about now? Whereas you are supposed to focus more on how to ensure that this thing does not happen again. Instead, we are focusing on ransom payment. Instead of us treating the real ailments, we are looking at symptoms and focusing on symptoms rather than the cause of the ailment itself. You understand what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, it's all motion with that movement. It's an attempt to deflect on the real issue, and then you need to scratch the topic.
Well, A retired top official of the National Broadcast Commission said members of his family, the traditional ruler in his area, as well as colleagues, contributed the ransom that was paid to his captors. We also have a retired officer here who spoke on condition of anonymity. He said bandits kidnapped his daughter and himself some months ago, and members, had to contribute ransom. Kidnapped victims in Delta, the same thing. Fuad, I'm sure you remember the Kaduna situation, the Kaduna Abuja situation as well, where 100 million or so, in 2022, one of the victims, Wilson, narrated that family members had to solicit for funds on social media to pay the 20 million naira that was demanded by his abductors. There's just a lot of reports here as regards people who came out to tell that this is what we had to do to ensure that our family members, came home safe and sound. And what we have now is that the wife of the Olukoro of Koro Ekiti, Oba Olusegun Aremu Ko, are currently in panic mode as the abductors have now demanded 40 million naira ransom from the family. It said that the gunmen reached out to the monarch's family for payment for 100 million, but that due to some negotiations were held or whatnot, and then it has been reduced to 40 million naira. Forward now, gunmen are reaching out to these people. I want to believe it is not through juju or or afosha. What's that thing that you just used to communicate to people through the extraterrestrial?
I don't know that. I'm not part of all kind of thing.
No, but I want to believe that this except it is via letter writing, and I don't think it is via letter writing.
So how do they dispatch the letter? How does the letter?
Where's the letter? What's the postal code exactly? So there is are we saying that there's no way at all for these calls to be tracked? Are we saying that there's no the accounts that these funds are being paid into? Are there no way to trace or track these accounts or whatnot? I'm sorry to bring this up again, but I will never forget what happened in 2020 after the #EndSARS protest. How within a week, Fuad, all the people that donated, all the people that received money on behalf of people that were protesting, even food vendors, their accounts were gotten and their accounts were blocked. So what exactly is the way forward as regards the means of communication, the correspondent channel that these kidnappers use in contacting the family members, and as well as the ransom payment in itself? It can't all be cash. I'm sure there's some that will be transfer. So how exactly can the security operatives leverage on this as regards intelligence gathering and information sharing with families of the victims?
Let's find that when we went through the hassles and the rigor and the pain of NIN, that was what the government told us at that time. You understand what I'm saying? That was what they told us. I remember the Minister for Communication and Digital Economy, Mr. Aissa Pantami, Malam Mr. Pantami at that time. I said the reason for this NIN was to fight, the scourge of kidnapping, insurgency, and all of these kinds of things. I would have thought that with NIN, and even the telecoms operators, because again, there are no calls that don't have a back end the record of calls and all of that. So I would have thought that look, with that kind of technology, the NIN thing, because again, the idea of the NIN is that you can't use a SIM in the country without it being registered. Even if you register by phone, well, I think there's a link somewhere. So we ask ourselves, what was the whole exercise of NIN, the whole thing we did at that time? Because again, like you said, these guys are not using letters. They are not even, I'm sure that the way they reach out to families, they are making calls and all of that. Why can't we track these calls? And then even if they are getting money in cash, even if you make cash payments, you can keep the track. Sometimes currencies are tracked. To the point where it gets into the market, how it got, it is a lot of questions that our security operatives need to answer. Some of them they tell you it's too covered to bring to the public space. But the reality is that as you are worried, Sandra, a lot of Nigerians are so worried as to the helplessness of our situation. Why are we this helpless? It's because, and like I said, you can't blame the people paying ransom for the cause of kidnapping in Nigeria. No, you cannot. Because these are also helpless people, and they are victims of the failure of the government to protect them. So you can't be the victim at the same time, and also the people you blame. You can't continue to blame the victim. That's double jeopardy. The ordinary people who are kidnapped, who are killed, are the victims of this cause. They can't also be the person you are blaming because they make an attempt to get their people released by looking for money. That's no good jeopardy on their part. It should be the government taking responsibility for failing to secure them. And that's the only way they can now think back, put in a workable plan to address and solve the problem, not to begin to look at the issue of because you are paying ransom. That was why I said as ex-DSS official, yesterday was reported that I was one of the people that was condemning ransom payments until I was kidnapped. So it's unfortunate, but again, what do we say? And this is even the time while we are saying all of this, you have the spokesperson of the president or the special advisor to the president who is now comparing figures between Nigeria and South Africa. That kidnapping in South Africa is more than Nigeria. So we have to wait till when we have the same figure as South Africa before we begin to do the right thing or complain. You can say that it's completely unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, interesting days ahead. I mean, or should I say, this is interesting. I find this really interesting, though. The ransom for the abducted 5 pupils that were released, you know, the fact that aside from the 15 million naira that was paid off, I mean, they said the kidnappers insisted on fried rice and energy drinks and cigarettes. And
energy drink and
fried rice. They were very specific. It was fried rice, not jollof rice.
Yes, something just came to my mind now, but it's not good for it. I just keep quiet.
It's okay. Thank you for that. It's all right. Because you know they were really specific. So they gave them 8 packs.
They want chicken to have it.
8 packs of fried with chicken and drinks. 8 packs of fried rice. 8 packs with chicken and drinks, and you know there's energy drink. They mentioned the names of the energy drinks and some malt drinks and cigarettes.
That's how very comfortable these guys are.
Very.
They need to think of fried rice and chicken.
They get them fried rice and chicken. That's interesting, but they didn't ask for uncooked items. I don't know if that's also another thing that we should note. The fact that they didn't ask for uncooked items. They didn't ask for items that. So how are they taking care of these, abductees now? The people that they abducted in their camps or whatnot. But anyways, the corpse of the driver has not been found. Very unfortunate. His corpse has not been found, and the kidnapped victims, they said he was killed between yesterday and this morning. No, sir, that will be Saturday into Sunday. That will be Saturday to Sunday. Yeah. So he was killed between Saturday. That's very unfortunate. If not, he would have been one of the released ones. They can't trace the body at this time, since they don't know the location where the body is kept. So the body is still missing at this time, at least to give the family closure, on this particular situation. But
that's very sad closure. Sandra, very, very sad one.
Very sad one.
Closure, but very sad one.
Well, the stories on pages 2, 25 and 28 of the Punch newspaper. Kidnapping epidemic, crowdfunding, ransom payments, and the part of the government. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have here NSCDC trains vigilantes to secure 821,000 vulnerable schools. That's on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Everybody's chipping in what they can. Power generation crashes to 59 megawatts as grid collapses again. What?
Of course, I told you the story about people now. You can't, unless you do something, it will keep collapsing. I think all 2 years ago, it was blackout across the country. And that's the story of our national grid that keeps collapsing. And will continue to collapse until we see a way with it. This idea of lumping things together, we have always talked about. And you ask yourself, why are we so long time to do the right thing? Why is it always so difficult for us? When we know a problem, we know the solution to a problem, and we find it difficult to activate the solution to the problem. Workable, sustainable solution to the problem. So that means we continue to live with a collapsing grid. Rising today, collapse tomorrow. That's the story of Nigeria. And that's an economy that's a country that's looking at a $1 trillion economy standard.
Yeah.
With a collapsing grid. Yesterday was zero complete. It started from around 3,000, it collapsed around 40 something, then later zero. And that's a country that wants to drive a $1 trillion economy. We are already doing.
Moving on now, still down above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, we have here federal government and states debt near 107 trillion naira, as naira fall is raising loans. Stories on page 30 of the Punch newspaper. So just very quickly, let's see what we have as regards that particular story. What we have is that Nigeria's total debt, that's federal government and state loans, may hit at least 107.38 trillion naira soon, following the approval of fresh borrowings from the federal government and new securitization of the Central Bank of Nigeria's 7.3 trillion naira ways and means advances. And this is as of December 2023. The Senate approved President Tinubu's request to borrow $7.8 billion and 100 million euros as part of the federal government's 2022 to 2024 borrowing plan. And according to the president, the Federal Executive Council under former President Muhammadu Buhari approved the loan facility to finance infrastructure. But while I just want to ask a question here, because the NSA has said we met a bleak treasury or a blank treasury, or I really don't know.
Dead treasury, collapsed dead treasury.
The presidency have also said a lot of things as regards the fact that we are a bankrupt economy or a bankrupt government or whatnot. There's just been a lot that we have been saying and all. So yes, this loan was approved during the past administration, former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. But do you think it is wise that this administration went ahead with the borrowing plan?
It's a borrowing plan, and again, some of our 2024 appropriations are based on some of these borrowing plans, if you understand what I'm saying. We said it that, look, the deficit of this year's budget will be financed through borrowing and some other means. And they have no choice really, because whatever they did in the budget was also captured, putting in mind this borrowing plan. You understand? So I think we will go beyond the conversation of whether they have to go ahead or not. They have no choice really, because whatever they had in the budget, the borrowing plan was a reason, was also part of the finance process to take care of the deficits and all of that. You understand? So we continue to borrow. Finally, we are in a situation where we can't stop borrowing, at least for now. But again, the argument will now come whether borrowing is a problem or not, whether we have the capacity to repay or not, what's our budget, what our GDP to debt ratio, and all of that. That look, we still have the more capacity to borrow and repay. But I would say that look, yes, borrowing is not a problem. But what do you borrow to do? It's always the conversation, Sandra. You can look for all of the monies available in the world and borrow. But are we going to deploy the monies to things that are life-changing, that are life-transforming, that are sustainable and engender development for the people? That's a big question. Or we are just borrowing for consumption. We are borrowing to pay salaries. We are borrowing to renovate houses. We are borrowing to buy computers. We are borrowing to buy SCs for government officials. People are borrowing, for luxury things, for unreasonable things, for things that are just a complete waste. Then the borrowing does not make sense. What we borrow for should be the conversation here, and we have not really seen a lot of fiscal discipline from this current government, or even the past government. It's still the same of the same, and that's why some of us are a bit worried about the borrowing pattern of the government, right even from the Buhari era. So this is what it is. As we already knew that, look, it was a borrowing plan. It was going to come eventually, because one way or the other was to take care of the budget deficit. But again, what are we borrowing for? The things I had seen in 2024 appropriation budget does not give me confidence that whatever we are borrowing will be deployed for things that will transform the lives of the people.
All right then. Well, as it is now, with the naira falling even further, it's going to be a struggle to pay back these debts forward. And I don't know, yes, there have been some, revenue generating drives from this president, but with naira falling and our debts going even higher and higher, do you see any plan in place? Because you just highlighted the fact that what are we borrowing for? So if it's not something productive that will earn us money back in return, are we not getting ourselves into a ditch here?
Well, that's the problem, Sandra. Like I said, for some of us that took our time to check state by state, line by line, the 2024 appropriation bill that now is signed into law, which is supposed to be our guiding principle for monetary and fiscal policies this year. There's not so much confidence that we have the judicious use of this money. You understand what I'm saying? We we reviewed some of them. Like I said, some of the embarrassing reviews, some of the reviews we did that look so embarrassing and unfortunate in terms of budget appropriation. But there are other items that we can't even bring to radio, Sandra. There are so many things there that does not give anybody confidence as to whether there's going to be fiscal discipline and monetary discipline from this government. But again, this money has to come. We have a huge budget deficit, but nobody's going to answer you. We're going to give reasonable answers to why we are borrowing for consumption, why we are borrowing for reasonable things. You understand? And that's why when we come up with the idea that, the government had no choice, subsidy had to go, there was no other option, because subsidy had to go, because some people were making the money. Now, the money we are supposed to be saving from subsidy, what are we using it for? I'm not my wrong that we are supposed to be saving. Because whether we like it or not, the indications are also there that subsidy is back. Whether in a different form or not, the reality is that something is going on that is taking care of what is supposed to be the money. Between what you are supposed to be buying PMS and what the official rate is supposed to be. So a lot of input, a lot of issues around, the current monetary and fiscal policies of this government and some of its economic policies. But this is the fact, and I've always said that I'll repeat it this morning. The economic outlook of this present government is such that they want a lot of money for the government. High tariffs, importers are complaining seriously, standard, as to custom duty, what they have to pay to bring in things and all of that, and it's still part of the revenue drive of this government. Subsidy, blah blah blah, we are saving money and all. But when we make all of this money, can we trust this government, whether through borrowing, through revenue generation, through tariffs, through taxes, and all of these kind of things? Can we, as this government showed enough discipline, to the extent that Nigerians can now trust them that whatever money we take, they will judiciously deploy it to better the life of Nigeria?
All right.
That's a big question, Sandra.
Well, I mean, interesting. Still on, that's all we can take from the Punch newspaper, unfortunately. But then just a quick one from the Punch as well is the fact that the presidency is saying Nigeria has the lowest. What's that there? Yes, the Nigeria living standard is the lowest in Africa. That's the latest
problem now.
From the Punch newspaper. I found that very interesting. Fouad, over the weekend, I wanted to. Oh no, it's not in the papers. I just remember it. I got it from the Punch, their online. I
think you should be captured in the Vanguard or so. It's a statement by bio non
let me see.
Alaji articles criticism. Or maybe it's captured in a different way.
I'll definitely run through that before we are done with trends in the papers. But I find that really, really interesting, and I just had to take that up. It was in the Punch, but I'll see if we can get it from other papers. Let's quickly move on now. I have so much time. It's still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. Let's move on now to the Guardian newspaper. Duty increase, sports forex rate adoption throw market into panic. So duty exchange rate since Tinubu's inauguration till now. As it is now, for anybody that wants to own a car in Nigeria, I don't know. Maybe you should just buy keke or korope or even korope.
People that do Nigerian use car standard. That's what people are using now. If you see anybody that buys a Tokubo car, a big man. Everybody, that's why you see people managing their car now, keeping me. And that's why when people buy now, they just go for Nigerian used cars. Because, what it now takes to bring in a car.
Well, as unfortunate as that is, or as unfortunate as it sounds, I mean, as of May 29, 2023, we were looking at 422 naira to a dollar. That's May 20, that was about 7-8 months or so ago. And here we are now, February 3rd, we are looking at 1,413 naira to a dollar. So the least clearing costs for a Toyota Corolla 2014 about 2.4 million naira.
That's the price to clear the cow.
It's not the cost of the cow.
It's the cost of bringing it in. The cost to now clear it.
The cost of clearing it is over 2 million naira. And this is based on year now. That's the Toyota Corolla 2014.
I know the bad part is that the guy that is going to import in the building the car would also use this dollar at this way to import. So double wahala for the importer. because he's not going to get the dollar officially to import the car to start with. So he uses this very expensive dollar to bring in the car, and the calculation of duty is also on this same dollar. So he's using over 2 million to clear. He's probably using another almost 2 million to bring in the car. That's why a Corolla is now selling for almost 1 million naira or 5 million naira. A Corolla that used to sell for maybe 1.7, 1.8 million naira under.
All right. Well, right, even rice is about 72,000 naira now. So I mean, just so help us all in Nigeria at this time. The adoption of the spot foreign exchange rate in computing duty on imported commodities has thrown importers and the entire business community into a panic mode. For the first time, the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) raised the import duty exchange twice within 24 hours on Friday, under the guise of obeying, in quote, the CBN's directive. The unusual adjustment raised the going duties across commodity lines by 48.4% in less than 2 days. And let's not forget that the Nigeria Customs Service adjusted the rate from 951 to 1,356 naira to a dollar on Friday. While the market was, yet to fully digest this decision, they even went further again. By Saturday, it was 1,413. So they raised it from 922 to 1,300, and then by Saturday morning again, they raised it even further to 1,400. And what's the CBN directive that they're working with now? Because they're saying they're simply adhering to the official market as directed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So for what?
Yes, these things are calculated in dollars. That's also directly from the CBN. And so between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, last week, there was this instruction.
Yes.
Even for the first time, we had a situation where the I&E window rate was even higher than the parallel market rate. For the first time in the history of this country. You understand? So that instruction in itself is the reason why, because again, what the customs are supposed to do is to work with the official rate, the rate of the dollar, in calculating duty.
For
so if it is completing, what you need to pay, you continue to complete. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not just for cars, because people reason that, it's only for car importation.
Import duties.
Import for anything you are bringing in. That's why today, Sandra, if anybody gives you a quotation, they will tell you that as of today,
pay now.
That if we give you this quotation,
within hours,
let you pay now. Within 24 hours, the guy can pay.
Hey.
And then for people who use very drugs that are not found in the country that have to be imported in standard, that's why prescription drugs have gone through the roof. That's why, and even for manufacturers, people will say, they are local manufacturers, but a lot of their active ingredients that are used to manufacture some of these products are imported. Apart from some of their plants and machinery, when they need to service them and repair them, some of those parts need to be imported into the country. I don't know. The government has to do something, sir. What they have to do, I don't know. How they will do it, I don't know. When they will do it, I don't know. But something has to be done to arrest the situation. Nigerians are groaning.
Something definitely has to be done to address the situation, because as we are looking at it now, we may be looking at food insecurity as well. Because I mean,
there's already food insecurity. Somebody is predicting 100,000 naira per bag of rice. Very, very cheap, but not careful.
Lord have mercy.
There's always a prediction that the bag of rice will be 100,000 anytime soon. We cannot get.
Traders are saying Nigeria should expect rice to hit 100,000 naira sooner than expected, as the rising cost of import feeds into general prices. So, whatever it is that we are bringing into this country, whatever it is, anything that you're using, and it's not produced in Nigeria, just know that we are in for it at this time now. And here we are still having conversations around whether or not Nigeria has the lowest living standard in Africa. Well, let me not infuriate people.
You see, we need to take that, even if it's not in the paper, but it's already in the paper. I'm sure the paper already have. I like that.
Maybe it just didn't make their hard copy. It's in the Punch.
Or maybe the front headline, the cover headline, maybe
somewhere inside. Yes. Well, let me see if I can.
But let's really touch on it, Sandra. Just 2 minutes. Alaji Atiku Abubakar again. I think it's on his X handle. has also written, just like last week, criticizing the economic policies of the Bola Tinubu government, the current government. As an opposition leader, I think he's doing the right thing, speaking truth to power, raising some of these issues and all of that. And like the last one, he has said that, look, this government appears unprepared and it's been lost, really, or short of ideas on what to do, to look at the forex crisis, the economic crisis, the insecurity in the land and all of that. And just like last week, where Mr. Bayo Onanuga was saying that, look, newspapers were reporting these things to sell paper, they were just being too sensational about the insecurity issues in the country, and then comparing figures. We have come again with another long write-up saying that, look, in Africa, Nigeria still have the best living standard in Africa compared to other African countries. You see, what I would just say is that people like Mr. Bayo Onanuga are trying to do their job, keep their job, should put some logic into what they are saying. We understand that, look, a lot of them are desperate to keep their job. There's this busybody mentality around doing their job. They want to be noticed. They want to be seen as defending the government and all of that. But I feel that at least they should be reasonable about it.
Well, amid the soaring rate of inflation, the presidency has claimed that Nigerians are enjoying the lowest living costs in Africa. They also said the administration of President Bola Tinubu was focused on solving our economic and security challenges, and while admitting that his reforms will cause immediate pains but will usher in an era of prosperity in the medium and long terms. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, made these assertions in a statement he signed titled Atiku Abubakar and His New Hobby.
And he will start by first insulting the person that criticized the government. If you read that statement now, he will start, instead of addressing the issue straight, he will start by first insulting everybody.
I don't know. I really don't know. But I mean, coming out to make that particular statement, I don't know what could be running through Mr. Bayo Onanuga's mind at this time now. But the presidency faulted Atiku's assertions about the rising cost of living, saying, and I quote, "His claim that the government policies have created intense cost of living pressures are also not grounded on facts, as recent comparative cost of living indices show that Nigerians still enjoy the lowest cost of living in Africa." Atiku claims that the private sector is shrinking and that multinational companies are leaving our country in droves and not grounded in facts. What facts is Mr. Bayo looking at for what? Treated
your own fact is different from his own fact. Let me tell you why his own fact is different from your own fact.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you are wondering what is the reality of Mr. Bayo Onanuga.
Mr. Bayo, because I mean, we all know this story. We all know in last year alone, between August and December, about 5 different multinationals left the country. In January, GSI, which is supposed to be the largest syringe manufacturing company in Africa or West Africa or so, also left Nigeria just this January. I'm wondering. I'm a little bit confused as regards the prank that Mr. Bayo Onanuga is playing, or on the intelligence of Nigerians.
You know what, Sandra? We have different realities from the people in government. It's obvious. And the sad part of this is that if this is the thinking pattern of the people that have the fears and aspiration of the president, then we are in trouble. Because again, remember that I think it was recently that the former governor of the state, Dr. Tʀᴇ said that, look, the president should try and listen directly from the people, listen to the people. Now, people that surround him are not going to tell him the truth. And you see, what, Sandra?
It's okay.
Mr. Bayo Onanuga's reality is different. He's in government now. I'm sure he has all the perks of office. He's well protected. I think allowances. It's okay, it's fine. So he has a different reality.
It's all right.
From the reality of ordinary Nigerians. But again, like we have always said, he's entitled to his own opinion as a special advisor to the president. But he's not entitled to his own set of facts. The facts are the facts. The facts are the things Alhaji Atiku Abubakar criticizing the policies of this government. And you know, some of these things the supporters will say, oh, what would Atiku have done differently if he also became president? Wouldn't he have done the same thing? Maybe he said he was also going to remove subsidy. And he said he was also going to float the naira against the dollar. But this question is, it's not about doing the policy. How do you intend to doing that thing? If Atiku had said he was going to remove subsidy, would he have done it the way Bola Tinubu did it? If he said he was going to float the naira and the dollar, would he have done it the way this government has done it? You might allow the same policy but approach it differently. Remember that in the inaugural speech of the president, subsidy is gone was not even part of that speech. He was the president that introduced it into it himself. You understand? Then when you now even do the two policies, the removal of subsidy and the floating of the naira and dollar, the repercussions and the things that came out of those two policies, how are you attending to it? That's also another conversation.
All right.
Well, one of the things is about guys is the reality for the reality of online Nigeria. But when it comes to facts on ground, it's not entitled to do set of facts. The facts at this time is that the policies of government has brought untold hardship on Nigerians, and that's the fact.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Well, the story, or will I say rather, the statement or the stance of presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, is actually in the Guardian newspaper. You can get what Atiku said. That's on page 3 of the Guardian, where he said, "Your policies promoting despair," Atiku tells Tinubu. So you can get what Atiku said, although Bayo Onanuga's response is not there, but so you can just get a full context as regards, where this
on
it. Yes, of course. On page 3 of the Guardian, that is. Moving on now, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, 500 workers left National Hospital in 2 years. CMD laments. That's Chief Medical Director. The story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have here World Cancer Day. High cost of care worsens epidemic. 78,899 death toll yearly. That's on page 6. 3 weeks after, new heads of culture agencies yet to take over. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. I mean, one of them was here.
We don't have ambassadors up to now, Sandra. They are all recalled, and up to now, we don't have ambassadors from most of our.
Yeah. Well,
now
that you have pointed that out, the heads of culture agencies, that's what we're talking about now, they are yet to receive their appointment letter. That's what we have now here. And what we have the chief of staff, who is supposed to, yes, exactly, give directives to the secretary of the government of the federation to issue all of these things, has not given that. He came to vote over the weekend, so maybe he has been busy. Let's give him one more week and he'll be back to getting things in place. Well, he was in
Lagos. The chief of staff was in Lagos.
He was in Lagos. He came to vote.
And when he was also asked about the hardship in the land, I don't know, half of the things he said, I just shook my head, but I don't want to go there this morning.
No, let's not go there. Let's go to Vanguard. Let's not go there. All right. We have a few seconds left on the show. Thank you for staying with us. It is Mainland 98.3 FM. On the front page of Vanguard newspaper, very quickly, uncertainty rules currency markets as external reserves rise. Volume of dollars traded down 3% to $2.14 billion. Why sudden massive crash of Naira, says coming from analysts, one of further depreciation and adverse impacts on economy. We also have here on the front page of Vanguard, rerun by elections, mixed fortunes as 5 parties win seats, and that story is on page 28. Presidency, Atiku fights over Tinubu's economic policies. Oh, there we have it. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's the story now. Tinubu's economic policy dashing hope, says Atiku. And the presidency is saying ex-VP offering uninformed interventions on economy. The story is on pages 13 and 30 of Vanguard newspaper. Stay with us. And we also have here, students in Lagos schools may miss WAEC registration. That's as regards 8,100 Naira levy. That story is on page 8. You may want to check that out. And of course, with 723 schools closed in 9 states over insecurity and others. That's coming from UNICEF. Very unfortunate. But that's all we can take this morning on Trends in the Papers. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly for Mainland Focus, where you, our dear listener, get to be a part of the conversation.
Rock the time. Rock the groove. It's music extravaganza, where the beat gets hotter. Mainland 98.3.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go. The sound of Lagos.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee